recording started, we plugged Andromeda Romano Lax's book, Annie and the Wolves, and we wished happy birthday to Ginger and Elena. So our question of the week today, before we get started, Damla asked, can you suggest any resources to improve writing skills in terms of concept, grammar, and language in English? So Damla's writing in her second or third language. I know several of the rest of you are writing in a language that is not your first language. What I'd really recommend, there's a brand new book called Dreyer's English, D-R-E-Y-E-R, Benjamin Dreyer, who used to be the copy editor at Random House, has written it. Great book on usage, very funny, very snarky. If you like that kind of tone, I think you'll find it very entertaining. I also recommend an older book that's all about punctuation called Eats, Shoots, and Leaves. It's all about punctuation, and the joke is that a panda walks into a bar, eats a plate of nachos, fires pistols all over the place, and walks out, and somebody comes up and says, what was all that about? And he's like, I looked in the dictionary. It said panda eats, shoots, and leaves. So all about how punctuation is very, very important. Online, Grammar Girl is a really fun website. They also have a podcast. They also have a book, easy to understand, memorable explanations. And for just like basic, you got to know this stuff, the Purdue Owl. Purdue University, P-U-R-D-U-E, runs a website called the Purdue Owl that is very easy for looking up any kind of small English usage thing. So Damla, I hope those books and resources will help you. And today we are going to talk about calls to action, how to get your readers to interact with you. Ashleigh, anything else introductory before we dive right into calls to action?
No, I just dropped in the chat that we will link all of those resources you mentioned, because that is a fantastic list. And we're going to have all of those resources for you tomorrow with the replay.
Fantastic. So what is a call to action? So we all know kind of what a big call to action is, which is buy my merchandise, sign up for my class, join my thing. But there are also a lot of smaller calls to action that we do on an ongoing basis, where we ask our readers, respond to me, tell me what you think, you know, retweet my thing, sign up for my newsletter, stuff that doesn't necessarily cost them, but that does help a little bit you as well as helping them. And so what is a call to action? It is a specific action that you ask beneficiaries to do. A specific action you ask beneficiaries to do. And we're going to break that down, and there's a reason why we're using the word beneficiaries. So specific. People are busy. You're busy. We're all busy. We all have a short attention span. We all feel mildly guilty on our social media because we really would like to be writing. People do not want to spend time guessing what you want them to do. Give a really clear, specific instruction about what you want people to do. So for example, I get really granular with this in my Instagram stories. When I want somebody to find a link or like click through to somebody else, I draw an arrow to the person's username and I write click through to see more, or I draw an arrow to my profile pic up in the corner and I write click for link in bio, because it helps people know where to click and it helps them feel a stronger sense of, I have been instructed to do this thing, and they are actually more likely to comply just because you tell them to, because historically we're either nice people or we're used to following orders people. Ashleigh, what kind of specific things do you ask people to do?
I ask for a lot of interaction in my Instagram stories with a wide variety of things. Often I will be walking my dog and I will ask people if they've ever used the gentle leader, or if they have other suggestions, put it in the box or DM me. There is strategy to this. I do want to find out better solutions for my dog pulling on the leash. And also, if someone is direct messaging me and I respond, if we have any sort of interaction like that, I am going to come up in their feed more consistently and more quickly. So my story, my Instagram posts, my reels will all show up for them more likely because we've direct messaged. So I ask for things like that. If I'm making chili in my kitchen, I'll say, hey, I'm making chili. I'll show the spices that I usually use. And I'll ask, what kinds of things do you put in your chili? Do you have any secrets? I got hundreds of responses about the chili one night. Cocoa, half a bottle of beer. And then what I do to show my audience that I'm not just asking random questions is I share those responses with my commentary. And I'll be like, beer, wow, how much of a beer? And then other people will come back and respond. So then there's this in real time back and forth. And you know, chili takes a while to cook. So the whole time I was making chili, we had all of this going on. The next time I made chili, I said, guys, I just want to remind you, these are the things that I actually used last time and they were fantastic. And then, you know, did any of you try them? So, and cooking is not one of my content buckets, but it was something that people really wanted to jump in on. And because everybody has like that favorite ingredient that they think makes their chili the best.
So Meredith asks in the chat, Ashleigh, how do you make sure you are being authentic in those stories? Because you guys may have noticed there is a certain performative element to being Ashleigh. How do you stay genuine, and what would you recommend for people who are less naturally outgoing than you are?
Yeah. Okay. Well, the way I'm authentic is that none of this is pre-planned. I will be starting the chili and then I'll be like, oh, you know, my kids aren't screaming and fighting because they're probably on a screen. I could probably just grab my phone and, you know, put a little content on Instagram right now because I haven't put anything on my stories for a few hours. Being in my stories several times a day is part of my connection with my audience. That's actually how I started building my audience. So that's something for me that is a consistent part. Even if I'm not posting on my feed, I drop into my stories a few times. So
sorry, go ahead, Ashleigh.
Yeah. So it's not scripted. Quite often I walk around my kitchen and I'll just be holding my phone and I'll look in my refrigerator and say like, what was that other thing I used last time? So I never do more than one take, unless like a child runs into the kitchen freaking out. And then, you know, for their privacy and for the disruptive element, I will take it again. So that's one of the ways that I make it look genuine, is that it's just kind of casual. I do always put on a filter though, so that I don't need to really worry about good lighting. If you watch anybody's Instagram story, in the top left-hand corner above right by their name, it'll tell you what filter they are using. And then you can click to try it or to save it. And then, so if you see somebody that's like, even Dani Shapiro's using a great filter lately in her Instagram stories, and it just smooths the skin tones a little bit, that's something that can make it just a little bit more comfortable to be face to camera if you feel like you are looking your best.
And Louise points out she's terrified of stories. She doesn't do well impromptu on camera. That's why she's a writer. Meredith sometimes doesn't want to post her stories because they feel too off. So I'm not quite the same as what Ashleigh does. I very rarely post an actual video to my stories. I'm much more likely to post a photo, but I tend to post photos that feel less staged and more spontaneous to my stories, whereas I'm a little bit more choosy about the stuff I put in my feed. For my feed, I might spend 20 minutes writing a caption I really like, because I don't post that often. So I feel like I need to be really good when I do post, so that people will think, oh, good, another one from Allison. I wonder what she's saying today, instead of, oh God, here's Allison in my feed for the 14th time today. But it helps me to think of stories and Twitter as well as an opportunity to be neighborly with people. One of the things that I think is really interesting is that we make most of our lifelong friends in high school and college, and we tend to rarely make a new lifelong permanent friend after college. And the reason for that is that scientists have actually studied lifelong friendship is made by casual, repeated, unplanned interaction. So in college and high school, oh, hey, we're sitting next to each other at the cafeteria. Oh, hey, we're behind each other in class every day this week. Oh, hey, we brush our teeth at the same time in the dorm. Oh, hey, there you are in the hallway. Social media actually functions in a very similar way, because we get to see each other casually and spontaneously. And as Meredith says, I post a lot of stories just to stay connected to my people. So it's really helpful to think of it as not like you're performing, but like you're having a moment where it's like, hello, neighbor, I like your petunias. Sure, I'd love to borrow a cup of sugar from you. Let me tell you what I made with your sugar last time. It was these great cookies. Shall I bring some to your door? It's literally that kind of a casual exchange where there is very little judgment. A quick technical note, Andrea asks, how do you draw the arrow when you're pointing where you want people to click? In Instagram, there is a squiggle that is an arrow, and there's another squiggle that is just a line without an arrow. Just kind of play around with them. They're in the buttons at the top of your story when you post.
And after you'll see the little sticker and you'll see the little squiggle line after you upload the video after you upload the photo or take the photo or take the little video clip. When you take your finger off of that, then options will come up. If your video is more than 15 seconds, you'll see little thumbnails at the bottom and you can click on each one to take a look at what's there. You can add the caption. People will definitely watch your Instagram stories further through, because for all of us, you'll see a drop off after each story. Because when you look at how many people viewed it, that's always 10% or more. I find when I caption my videos, then the retention is much higher for people sticking around, because sometimes people just put their finger on it and read it without any volume on, and then click to the next one and read it. And then they can get through at their own pace without listening to what I'm saying.
Stephanie asks, what order do you upload them in so they play in order, like for the chili one? Or Ashleigh, are you literally doing record, post, record, post, record, post live?
I am doing it all live. I'm hitting record. I'm walking around to my refrigerator and to the pot, maybe making a funny face, maybe looking at my dog if he's barking at me. And then once I have about a minute of video, so that's 4 15-second clips that I caption and post. And I use the little microphone on my keypad on my iPhone to just dictate my caption, because that's quicker than typing the whole thing in.
And Meredith, you can record them directly in Instagram stories when you hold down the button. And when you record in Instagram stories, you can use a filter. And I find that I'm a little bit more confident on my no makeup days if I use a filter, even though I kind of feel like a cheesy influencer. But then I remind myself that Ashleigh does it. And I think Ashleigh is both beautiful already and not a cheesy influencer. And so that makes me feel like it's okay to use the filter. It makes my face look
Thank
smart.
you. And like I said, Danny Shapiro's using a filter on every story now. It's a good one if you want to go there and save it on your camera roll. If you record it, there is an option not to use it. Yes. Okay. And then if you post it and you want it down, you can delete it immediately. That's okay.
Yeah, exactly. And yes, Alex, we are talking about stories, not reels. And Stephanie, I don't know about the recording 4 at a time in stories and only posting one then another. I think Ashleigh does record, post, record, post, record, post.
I record 4 at a time. It'll record 1 minute of video. So that's 4 15 seconds. And usually because I talk a lot. So I can't get out what I'm saying in 15 seconds usually. And because I don't script it, I might like kind of mumble or pause. And I even put in my mumbles in my captions, and my audience thinks that's funny. Or my stutters or anything.
It really is about being yourself. So we are not all going to be the person who is comfortable sharing our kitchen. Ashleigh shares her kitchen spontaneously. Stephanie Weaver shares her kitchen in a more staged and planned way. I like to share when I'm outside because I think the daylight makes everybody's skin look better. You know, it's fun to just play around with and remember that your story vanishes in 24 hours. So even if it sucks, it's not like that many people are going to see it for that long, you know, and we're always more self-conscious about ourselves than other people are. And this is good practice because your story is like an extremely miniature version of meeting people at a conference and telling them about your book, or speaking at a conference and telling people about your book, or being interviewed on a podcast. This is your chance to just be your real fun self. I want to add one more thing about being specific in your calls to action. I highly recommend that you sell or ask for one thing at a time. Don't sell more than one product at a time. Don't promote more than one friend's book at a time. Don't give away more than one freebie at a time. Like maybe you have 6 freebies on your website, but there's only one that you're talking about on your social media for this 3 or 4 day period. It's really helpful to keep people's attention span in mind and give them one instruction to do. You guys may have noticed that in the Writer's Bridge emails that you guys get right now, the one thing that we are focused on selling is we're doing an 8-week course that's all about building platform both off and on social media. So right now, that's the only link that we're shoving in front of you guys because that's what we're hoping you'll check out. On a more regular basis, we put Ashleigh's newsletter, we put my newsletter. If one of us is teaching a class, we take out the newsletter link and put in the class link. Limit the options for what your audience can do. And this is, again, backed up by scientific evidence. They actually did a study. They did this study in grocery stores where they provided jam to taste test. And when you had your choice of 2 jams or 3 jams, almost all the people who tasted jam bought jam. But when you had your choice of 7 jams or 8 jams, people got overwhelmed and they didn't pick any of them. Many fewer people purchased jam. So you want to offer everyone who is interacting with you 1, maximum 2 kinds of jam. Like, for example, I imagine that Brooke is going to be like a ginger marmalade, which is going to be incredibly tasty, slightly bizarre, and it's really going to grow on you after a while. Whereas I think of Mubina is going to be like a mango apricot, where there's like this beautiful hint of spice in it, and it's really kind of like comforting and sophisticated at the same time. I'm just riffing at this point. Ashleigh, anything more on selling one thing at a time before?
Just to double back on the reels versus stories versus post IG video. So we had a question from Stephanie. How do you decide whether you're going to do a piece of video content as a story or a reel or IGTV? I do all 3. The way I figure out what my audience likes is by just casually chatting in my reels lots of times a day for about 4 years. My most successful video series right now on TikTok and Instagram is how to keep monogamy hot. I've been talking about that for 2 years, and just casually, because people just, ever since I was a skating coach, people ask me for a ton of advice that has nothing to do with my area of expertise. And I love that. I was born with an opinion. There's like, never tell a bossy girl she can't like create opportunities by telling other people what they should do. So I just started answering random questions in my stories: how to potty train during quarantine, how to make married sex hotter. And then people kept telling me, DM or in real life, that thing you said about like having sex at 5:30 p.m. that was like the best advice. You need to do a piece of and that expired in my stories in 24 hours.
I forgot you advised that. We started having sex in the afternoons and it's been so much more relaxed.
See, guys, I am not a sex expert, but I am changing lives. I'm changing lives with my 5:30 p.m. preference, sharing it. Okay. And you don't know if you're going to change lives by telling people to put cocoa powder in their chili. It's good. So she said, you really need that to like live online, because people are going to send that to their partners. They're going to comment. They're going to send it to their girlfriends. Like, people want to see that more than just, the 300 people who saw it on your story that day. There we go. She's also my psychic, and she was telling me this for a long time. And then, whole bunch of opportunities. So, and I've done it on the Instagram reel. I've done it in a post. There are some things that I do on a short video, and then I do an IGTV with a little longer. If your content is good and it's pulling people in, you can repurpose that content. I should pitch that as an essay too. Like, there are all of these, you can just keep telling the same thing in different ways. And people who have already seen it are going to like it again. People who have never seen it before might like have their minds blown. Like, oh, I could have sex before dinner. That sounds amazing.
Brings us to action. So not only do you want to be specific, you want to ask them to take an action. It's a verb. Sign up here, swipe up, click through, do this specific action. So when you put your writing bio on the next thing that you publish, whether that's the bottom of your blog, whether that is an essay that you write for somebody else, and your bio should always be there, even in your own blog on your own website, because there's going to be people who came directly to that blog and not through your main website. You want to have a specific action. So not just your name with a link to your Twitter or your name with a link to your website, but find her website here, find her online here, follow her on Instagram here. Make it a specific action that you have asked them to take. Don't make them guess, don't make them negotiate with you. I highly recommend as well that you make sure that anything you want people to sign up for, you put a simple infrastructure in place. I have actually seen my income go up this year because I started using a scheduling app that let people book editorial time with me without having to have an email exchange with me first. And this is the first time that I've had, not only I'm sending less emails back and forth to my existing editorial people, because now they can look at my calendar and they can pick their time instead of us having to negotiate back and forth. But I also have people who visit my website and go, oh, I would just like to talk to her. And I get to do business with and enjoy the writing of people who I have not even met yet, but they already decided to buy something from me because it was easy. So you want to make it as easy and as frictionless as possible. And one of the things I recommend is get your mother or your least tech savvy friend to sign into your website or look at your social media with their screen share on, which is going to be a journey in itself, getting them to screen share with you, and then watch their mouse. Watch what they click on. Have them talk through, oh, I'm looking for your newsletter sign up. Is this pink box your newsletter sign up? No, that's something else. Where's your newsletter sign? And that will help you know how easy is it to find what you want people to find on your thing. Brooke says it's called a UX test, user experience test. Ashleigh, what do you want to add about that?
Linktree and Beacons offer a lot of things, a lot of capabilities for your link in bio that's really simple, that really will help this user experience, like Allison was saying. Linktree has just upgraded the features that they offer. Probably in response to Beacons, you can just have the email dropped right in there and sign up, and it can go to a Google Sheet, or it can be tracked to your MailChimp or your newsletter subscriber interface. So in there, I followed Allison's advice too for starting it with a verb to make it really, really clear, and then taking out some things that maybe aren't as necessary. So like really cleaning up those links, and it's very easy, especially in Linktree, to just move them around and even hide them temporarily. So making it as easy as possible for people to get. If you're asking me to sign up for your newsletter, I want in your Linktree, doesn't have to be the top one, but I want to go sign up for the newsletter, and I want to be taken directly to the page on your website where I can put in my email address. I do not want to scroll and look. If you are in this group, I will scroll and look. I will dig around and I will try to find it, and I will sign up for your newsletter because you asked me to sign up for your newsletter, or I want to support you. Anybody?
But if you're a stranger, we have to be able to find your freaking newsletter.
Yeah, right there. Buy my book. Take it right to your book. Take it right to a link like of your preferred place to buy, or right to that book page on your website where you have IndieBound, where you have Barnes and Noble, where you have everything, and then Amazon at the very bottom, or not even there, because people can find Amazon pretty easily, right? Like I want to go directly. I want to get to where I'm going in less than 3 clicks and less than 30 seconds. I mean, less than 60 seconds. Okay. Like get me there quickly.
And so while you are asking specifically, not making them guess, giving them a verb, telling them exactly what you want to do, it is also helpful if you have infrastructure that takes care of who says yes to your ask and who says no. because hearing people say no sometimes hurts our feelings. So you don't want to have to personally add people to your mailing list. You want an automatic process, either MailChimp or some kind of automatic system that lets people sign themselves up and unsubscribe themselves. And I would highly recommend that unless you are actively in the middle of a paid advertising campaign where it's really important to know how many new followers you've got today, don't bother to check your numbers daily. Check your numbers once a month, maybe even once every 2 months, unless you're actively building at that time, because you're just going to get your feelings hurt and you're going to wonder, okay, I had 392 people yesterday and I only had 391 people today. Who doesn't like me anymore? So try and get an automatic process for the asking and the answering. And the people who you are asking are not just your readers, not just your customers, not just your clients. They are your beneficiaries. And this word is really important because so often when we are reaching out, we are thinking, I need subscribers, I need likes, I need comments. But what do your readers need? How are they going to benefit from taking the action that you want them to take, whether that's answering a question or purchasing your book?
Mm-hmm. And we need to know how to check our stats and our analytics, and then we need to know when to ignore them. My Instagram followers stayed flat for 1 month, which I went from about 2,000 followers at the end of September to 22,000 now. And so every day I was having growth during that period. And then for them to stay flat for a month and some days to even dip down, I was like, okay, that's different. But I started having more, like up to 80 a day sometimes, real conversations in my direct messages. And I was like, it doesn't matter that my analytics are lower because my connections that I'm building with people are stronger than ever. So we said a few weeks ago, like try to have 5 real conversations a day on social media, whether that's with another writer or an audience member or somebody else's audience member in the comment section of a comp account. Just try to have that connection 5 times a day.
And so as you are reaching out, as you are thinking of the people you are connecting to as your beneficiaries, as your community, there are a couple of different things that you can offer to get people to take action and interact with you. You can offer a freebie. Get this free guide to planning your grid. Here is my latest recipe for jam. Get this free meditation thing. You can nurture them. Get my monthly tips on migraine avoidance. Get my next blog in your inbox before anybody else. You can do straight entertainment. Get my top 5 pet videos, just like a fun, cute little thing. And Meredith, if you don't have collateral yet, like if you don't have a thing that you can give away, A, start thinking about having a thing you can give away because it's going to be useful later. But B, think about what do you enjoy that you would like to share with your community. If you were standing in a group of writers at a conference and you're all sitting, by the buffet table or whatever, and somebody says, what have you read recently that you really enjoyed? You'd probably have a couple of books to recommend. Yeah, and so share your joy, share what you're enjoying and loving. You can also do kind of a secret club feeling, join my newsletter for travel stories in your inbox, or Ashleigh is now working with texting through Community, which feels a little bit more private, a little bit more intimate. And then the last thing I recommend is activism, but easy. So find out how you can help justice a little bit every day. I'm in a comment pod with 2 amazing people. One who frequently posts about the justice system, which I am fascinated by. One of whom posts about nuclear disarmament, which I am not particularly fascinated by, but it's interesting to know about it. I hear their opinions and I get their news, but I don't always know how I can be part of what they are doing. Whether that's thinking about a philosophical question, whether that's taking a small action like click this link to text your congressperson, whether it is how can you actively use another form of energy, here's where to donate to the Innocence Project. Even if I don't take action, it's useful to have an action connected to your opinion so that the reader, the beneficiary, feels like they can be part of what you are offering.
And for offerings, if you're not quite sure what that is, that may be an indication, and we've said this before, that you need to get a little clearer on what your memoir is about, or your nonfiction, or a little clearer on why your novel is going to provide something new in the publishing landscape. As Allison said, I just started using community texting service, and I've had it for a few weeks, but I didn't really know how I was going to use it. What I decided was, on TikTok and Instagram Reels, there's not much room for a caption, and it's very unlikely that people are going to click to expand the caption over the video. So I send out a bonus caption with like some more information about that tip, whether it's getting my kids to clean the house or something about independent bookstores. And that just goes out to my texting communities. And those people have said whether they want hot monogamy advice or parenting advice or all the things. So that's my little offering there, is like some more insight as far as like an expansion on that tip that I already offered.
And when you're thinking about what to offer your beneficiaries, think about the concepts of towards and away from. So Writer's Bridge calls you to action by saying, we are moving you towards your readers. We are moving you towards more confident social media. We are moving you towards more confidently sharing your writing with the world. We are moving you away from things that are hassles, things that feel like an obligation, things that feel overwhelming. And so depending on what we wanted to call you to action to do, we might say, you know, take this course to build your confidence, or come to Writer's Bridge and learn these 6 things to do about calls to action. Or we might want to make it a more away from thing. Like tonight on Writer's Bridge, we're going to talk about getting rid of your deadwood followers who aren't doing you any good. We're going to talk about getting your name off of mailing lists you don't want to be on anymore. Towards is almost always more positive than away from. So when you can make your offer a towards, that's usually a better choice, because people would rather sign up for something positive than flee something negative.
And in our tagline for Writer's Bridge, we say, reach your readers, keep your soul. So that's showing you what we're moving you towards, with making like a little dig at, you know, the soul-sucking nature that social media can be.
So Brooke reminds us that we want to kill the people who run the comp accounts to us and steal their skins. And I recommend that you use like a hook and eye fastening, because it's a little bit more adjustable, you know, depending on like your personal bust size. So yeah, it's always more fun when Brooke's around. When you are going to your calls to action, it will eventually come to a point where you don't have to ask as directly. And generally, you want to keep doing 10 gives for every ask. So offer your readers 10 things. Here are 10 beautiful Instagram posts. And then on post number 11, I'm going to tell you about my book. Here are 10 emailed newsletters. And here on thing number 11, I'm going to tell you about my book. Or here are 10 fun tweets. And on tweet number 11, I'm going to say, oh, hey, I put a blog out today. I hope you'll click through and read it. Gary Vaynerchuk has a concept called jab, 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 right hook, which is maybe a little bit more aggressive than we kind of look at it at. But it's this idea that you soften it in an aggressive way. You soften up your opponent with a series of jabs before delivering a knockout blow. But I'd like to think of it as there's a handshake, there's another handshake, there's another handshake, and then there's a hug. So let's think of it that way. There's a post-COVID, everybody's vaccinated hug, and that's what we're all moving towards. You really do have to give. You really, really do have to give. You must invest your actual time in your audience. That doesn't mean you have to be on Twitter all day, every day. That doesn't mean you have to post to Instagram all day, every day. That means you have to find out where your readers are and be a part of that community and offer value to that community. Ashleigh, how does that work for you? And while you tell them, I'm going to plug my laptop in.
Okay, so this ties into a story Allison told me the other day about circus performing, but I'm gonna tell you my part of this, and then she can share it. So every single audience member I interact with, I take as a representative of my whole audience, and I show the rest of my audience. You know, only a fraction of the people who follow me have ever commented or liked or responded to one of my stories. But what I do, if somebody responds to one of my stories and points something out to me or even pokes fun at me, quite often I'll take that screenshot and I'll reshare it to my stories. So the rest of my audience can see how I respond to someone giving me information. I want them to know that I am grateful, that I can laugh at myself, that if you start poking fun at me, I'm going to laugh at, as well, and then we are going to get a laugh out of it. Like, yes, I appear to be approachable and have a good sense of humor, and look, it's true. I'm safe. I don't bite. Like, so just really taking care. If somebody comments on a video and they say, oh, this is so hard for me because X, Y, and Z is hard for me too, I'll be like, oh, love, I'm so sorry. Like, tell me more. And so people will see how I am treating other audience members. And that just gives them more confidence in me as a creator, me as a human. And even if they never interact, they're going to be more likely to recommend my account to a friend. They're going to be more likely to pre-order my book because they've seen the way I care for other people. And they can guess how I would care for them if they were interacting with me as well.
Exactly. So I want to also say too that sometimes we worry about, have I given away too much for free? Are they still going to buy my book if I give an elaborate tips sheet about how to make monogamy hot? Are they still going to buy my book about hot monogamy? So this comes to investing your actual time in your audience. So for many years, since 2014, I have written twice a week for the Brevity blog. I talk about writing advice. I promote other writers. I give specific, actionable advice. And now that I have invested all that time, people are willing to treat me as an expert, and a lot of them are pre-ordering my book, much of which is some of that previous blog advice. I would say it's probably 50% blog that they already read for free and 50% new stuff. The thing I say to people who are worried a little bit about, well, what if I give away too much material? Will they still buy me my book? Anyone who prints out all of your Instagram captions and punches holes in them and puts them in a binder deserves their free book. Almost no one is going to go to that much effort. Andromeda asks, what about this 10-to-1 or 3-to-1 concept around launch day, or where other times where you have much more to share? Do you not share links right away in order to preserve the ratio, or is it okay to break the rule briefly? Yes, I think it is totally okay to break the rule at special times. And that's part of why you want to build a long-term strategy of giving to your beneficiaries so that they already feel like they've had 100 gives when you need to do 10 asks in a row. Ashleigh, will you add on to that?
Yeah, definitely. So I love Allison's joke about the binder that, anybody who collects all of the things you've ever written, like, yes, you get it. You should sign it for them, really. They deserve it. When you build a relationship with your audience, and when you show your audience members how you're building a relationship with other people, even if they're just observing and not actually interacting with you themselves, you will get to a point where they cannot wait to buy that book. They cannot wait to support you and give something back after the days and years and months of you showing up and offering what you have to offer to them. So don't be worried about giving away too much. Really take the best things that you have to say and say them over and over and over, and really stretch yourself to say them in different ways and present them in different ways, because not everybody who follows you will see all your content, not even close, maybe 10%. They will see 10% of your content, and you saying it in a different way will stretch you as a writer, and it will reach different people at different times.
So when we come back from breakout time, we're going to give you some specific practical tips for how to use your time on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and interacting with existing communities to be able to maximize your time and get people to see you as part of the community and respond back. Now, people are often a little bit nervous about going into breakout rooms because they think, oh no, maybe I don't look my greatest today. Are other people going to think I'm weird? Is this going to be bizarre? People are always happy once they come back from breakout rooms. So we're going to send you into breakout rooms for about 7 minutes. And we just want you to say hello to each other, find out what you're all writing, and check in with each other's social media, see if you can take a moment and follow each other. So here we go. You're about to be invited to join a breakout room. And if you depend on closed captions, you should stay in the main room because there are no closed captions in the breakout rooms. Enjoy your breakout rooms, meet your new writer friends. So when we come back, I loaded up the circus video, which I should have had ready to go earlier. Maybe show that very briefly and then cover the stuff about spend your Facebook time in groups, watch Twitter for jokes, watch Instagram for trends, and stay online for a couple of minutes after posting so that you can engage with people who engage with you.
Can we mention the tweet? The tweet about OkCupid guy number 3?
It's at like 7,500 people right now, I think.
Amazing, amazing. And then, even though I'm not active on Twitter, then I took the screenshot of it, and then I continued that conversation in my stories and so even if it's not your joke, like it wasn't my joke, right?
Yeah,
it was but then I took it and continued the conversation around, right? So there are a lot of opportunities there.
And I'm going to write an Instagram caption, I think tomorrow, about how I met my husband. Because like somebody already asked that when I asked what should I write about for Instagram, and somebody asked, how did you meet your husband?
Love it.
And then somebody also wanted to know about that on the OkCupid guy thing.
And are you going to use that that screenshot as one of your slides? Or not?
I think so.
Or in your story and then tag in, I don't know. I'm
trying to find a photo of Alf and I that he's going to be okay with me putting on social media. And I'm actually thinking I might just do our hands because I've never put him on my permanent social media. I've only put him in stories.
Okay.
And I want to actually do like a post because I have a secret for like finding who you want, and it's you only get to choose 3 things. Because if you have more than 3 qualities in mind, you're being too picky and you're not going to meet enough people. And you're also not going to give somebody a chance. So my things were smart, funny, financially secure. Everything else I can fix. He has terrible table manners. I can fix that. He dresses poorly. I can fix that. Bad in bed. I can probably fix that. I love it. Those things were my non-negotiables, and that let me home in on, okay, is this person smart, funny, and financially secure? If yes, at least 1 date. If no, sorry, not my person.
Love it. Love it.
Gotta be
strategic.
Nice to see you. I didn't get a chance to read your message yet, but I'm glad you found the thing about the summaries.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, absolutely no problem. I understand you're busy. I honor your time.
All good. All good. I'm looking forward to reading it. Brian is finishing up his memoir, and he was asking an editorial question that was really interesting and worthwhile for me to explain again, which was good. Made me think about how to phrase it better. So how close are you to the end, Brian?
Oh, well, I'm going back in the second draft chapter by chapter. So the end is done. It's just right now in the second draft process, I'm sort of in the first section, like the 4th chapter and fifth chapter. And it's, well, I mean, it's better to go back and do this stuff thoroughly than.
I agree. I very much agree. Yeah. So everybody is coming back from breakout rooms. Welcome back, everybody. We hope you had a really nice time meeting other people in your breakout room as you pop up and populate and come on back to the main line here. So we want to show you a little bit of a video that kind of gets across this idea of how much time you want to invest in what you're sharing with your audience and how much you can give them before you ask for something. So some of you are aware that I was formerly a circus performer, and a lot of what I did was on the street. And this is a grainy, not super great quality, but you can kind of get the idea, video of what we did for free on the street before we asked people to stick around and give us money.
The fire even gets me every time. I can't.
So that was me at the very end there. So what you guys can see is several people we trained for a good long time to be able to do those skills, and invested our time and energy in going to the gym, in paying for lessons, in paying for coaches, in learning to do the skills better and better and better. And then we would set up on the street at a festival where everyone who wanted to could watch the show for free. And our goal was to deliver such a good show that at the end of the show, when we sincerely said, this is how we make our living, and we hope that you're going to come up and tip us, we recommend you give $10 or $20, people would then line up to hand us money, even though there was no penalty to walking away. And that's the kind of atmosphere that we are trying to create with our writing. We want to create an atmosphere where we are loving our audience, we are acting from generosity, because what we have to say is truly important, and there are people who need it. We are helping them by offering what they need. And so each time you're sharing your work, remember that you can't love a crowd, you can only love a person. And so each one of your audience members is a representative of your whole audience. And showing your audience how you treat each of them shows them how you value all of them. So even though people don't necessarily see everything Ashleigh broadcasts, or not everybody asks Ashleigh a question, they see that Ashleigh honors those questions by listening and giving a true response. And this is the kind of connection that builds that feeling where people are going, oh, hey, I'm so excited to hear from Brooke today. I can't wait to hear from Alex today. Oh, look, there's another picture of Aaliyah. Her new book's out. And they can't wait to give back to you because they feel that you have given your true self to them.
And if your book is not out yet and you are struggling a bit with what to share, I have to tell you, I have been there. My book is not out yet, but when I was querying, when my book was on submission, I did not know what the hell to say on social media. I really didn't. And then when I decided to break up with my agent, I just started posting like my book was already out. I said, like, what would I write? What kind of videos would I make? What would I say on my stories if my book was if my book was published last month? You know, because I was holding all of this in thinking I shouldn't say that, or maybe I should, or would that get people interested in my book? I just started being more of me. I just pretended that my book was already out in the world and this is how I want to interact. If 1,000 people, if a dozen people have already read my story, but it's no longer a secret. So take that to heart, because that might be something that then unlocks a little bit in you too. Because I just gave myself permission to be more of myself when I looked at it that way.
So in our final minutes, here are our quick and dirty practical tips. Write for the times. Reflect what's going on around you, which doesn't have to be politics. It can be the flower you looked at this morning. It can be the beautiful moment you shared with another person. It can be the great quote you were happy to read. Interact with existing communities because they're more likely to comment back. So if you can be part of a joke on Twitter, be part of a giant joke thread and respond to some of the people in that thread because they will follow you back. Spend your Facebook time largely in groups, not just of other writers, but of people who gather because they're interested in something that you touch on in your book, because those groups exist on Facebook as well. Engage after you post. So whether it's Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, wait 15 minutes before you get offline. Like and respond to comments. Click through on your Instagram hashtags, the ones you just used. Look at the most recent posts on those hashtags and engage with them because some of those people are still online after they posted and they're going to come back and engage with you. Share your friends' stories to your own story with an extra thought. Ask a question that can be answered in one sentence. If somebody comments, ask them a question. Start a conversation. Ask for help. People like helping. Should I wear the red shirt or the blue shirt? Should I stay with my husband? Should I leave my husband? Make it easy for people to communicate with you. Ask for a specific action from your beneficiaries. And make sure that you are giving as much as you possibly can. We will also ask you guys in just a moment to all unmute yourselves so we can have our lovely goodbye. I want to share just one quote with you from a guy named Hugh MacLeod, who's a fabulous cartoonist. It's a God quote, but you don't have to be a God person to use it. Hugh says, "At the center of every human soul is an intense longing to be closer to God. The brand that can empathize with that is powerful." So whatever you believe in, find the readers who believe that too, so that you can believe it together. Thanks for coming tonight.
This was amazing.
Thank
you. Goodbye. That was really good.
So wonderful. Thank you so much.
In a couple weeks.
The video.
Bye.
Bye.
So feel free to stick around if anybody has questions about the 8-week course that we are teaching, which is all about platform building in all ways, how to write press releases, how to get picked up on podcasts, how to get picked up in your local newspaper, as well as how do you write for social media and how does that make you a better writer as a whole. So feel free, or if you have other questions or comments, feel free to ask those too.
When's the class? What's the timing?
The class starts Monday, March 1st. It is 8 classes that will all be on a Monday. Mubina, you're in Dubai time. It's going to be 10 p.m. No, we're doing it at noon Eastern, right, Ashleigh? So it's going to be 9 p.m. for us for a little bit, and then it's going to be 8 p.m. for us because we don't do daylight savings time here. And each week there's one group class that will have 24 people in it. And then there are 4 group coaching sessions that will have maximum 6 people in each one. And there will be 4 of those Thursday afternoon and evening, Sunday afternoon and evening, where you can pick whichever group coaching session fits your schedule. And that's where we'll kind of drill down and help everybody with like, well, you tried the exercise from the class this week. How'd it go? Here's some pointers. Maybe it can go better like this. You know, oh, hey, you should submit to this publication with that thing you just wrote. We want to make it like, we're hoping to create like that fun, happy feeling that we all have on Writer's Bridge, but a little bit more focused, where you're not just spending time with us, but you're also spending time with your platform and like taking that 8 weeks to commit to, I'm gonna build a bigger, better platform.
And we can talk about strategy. Like if you want to share captions, if you want to share images or videos with us beforehand, we're going to have a private Facebook group where you can upload those things to an album. And then, you know, take a look at it like, oh yeah, like this part was really good, elaborate on that, or cut that a little shorter, and like this kind of caption, or these are the hashtags that could go with that, or, you know, the different things. This is how then you could take that over to Twitter. This is this thing you're going to do on Twitter. This is how you could take it somewhere else. really just broadening our, the possibilities with each one of our content buckets and the things that we want to share.
Does it matter at what point you are in terms of your writing? Because I'm really at the very beginning stages of trying to do a memoir, but I know that they say that you need to have a social media presence before you could ever even think to get published. So is that the wrong order to do things?
There's no wrong.
Wait, yeah. So go ahead, Ashleigh.
Yeah, there's no wrong order. No, we're going to be looking at this in a really comprehensive way. So if you have a book coming out in the summer or fall, or if your book pubbed last year, or if you are on draft 1 of your memoir and just kind of taking this step into like, I'm really going to treat myself like a writer, and I'm going to, I'm going to do this manuscript, and this is how I want to start showing up as a writer in social media. Across that whole continuum and spectrum, we're going to be offering assistance.
We're going to talk as well about writing for social media, because I also feel like social media gets to be part of your writing practice. Like Twitter is a great place to practice writing better sentences, anchor it with the noun and the verb at the beginning and the end. Facebook is a great place to write meaningful things. And so how do you as a writer speak your truth from your heart, but also phrase it in a way that the reader receives that truth with the maximum impact? And that's something that we focus on a lot too, is it's not just about, like, as writers, you don't need 10,000 followers. You need 1,000 engaged followers who really want to hear from you, who look forward to what you have to say. And it's easier to build them slowly over the 18 months to 2 years that it will likely take you to finish your book than it is to finish your book and then go, okay, now I have to build platform and start querying.
Okay, thank you both.
Yeah, it's a really good idea to start building your platform as soon as you decide you're serious about writing a memoir. That's what I did, and it really helped. I mean, that's what helped me get my agent to already have a few thousand followers by the time my memoir was out.
And Cecilia's book is great too. It's all about her becoming the first Latina pilot in the National Aerobatic Squadron. National Aerobatic Squadron? Yep.
Team.
So she's a professional aerobatic pilot. Her book is beautiful. I highly recommend it.
I have it right behind me here somewhere. I don't know if it's up high or down low. Oh, it's right here. It's right here, Cecilia.
Be ready with your book on Zoom.
There you go. It's right there. And she was afraid of heights. Okay, I'm afraid of it.
Oh, and Anne asks, will you keep doing Writer's Bridge after the class starts? Yes, we love doing Writer's Bridge. It's fun for us. There's 1,000 people on the mailing list at this point. I think we're up to like 1,050. Like 100 people turn up every week, which is really gratifying. And it makes us feel really honored and humbled that you choose to spend your time with us. But it's also important to us that that's free. That's one of the gives that Ashleigh and I do, which is that we show up for you guys every 2 weeks and we put our time into planning it and all that. So like we have a meeting where we plan the lesson. We go over the lesson plan. One of us writes the lesson plan. We publicize it in like 5 or 6 different places. Ashleigh takes care of sending to the mailing list. I take care of posting it in a couple of different mailing lists. One or the other of us posts it to Facebook and Twitter to get as many people as possible. Then we do it. Then Ashleigh does the video edit and distributes the links to everybody. So it's a whole process, but it's been really worthwhile because now we have 1,000 people who are interested in what we have to say and who we can just keep giving stuff to in a way that feels good for us too. I wouldn't do it if I didn't genuinely enjoy being here every so often.
Allison's writing craft advice is so damn good. It's one of the reasons I love working with her. That, things she'll teach you about crafting tweets will make your memoir better. So, it really is a holistic view of what we need to be doing as writers in our daily practice, how to fit things in so that none of it feels too overwhelming. Bye, Lisa. And that it just feels like you're developing those good habits for how to show up online, how to get bylines by submitting to pubs, figuring out really like, all right, am I literary, am I commercial? What does that mean? We're going to really give a lot of assistance in that. And then what does that mean in your writing? And then what does that mean in your daily practices, the kind of groups you're connecting with, where you're reaching out to for speaking opportunities, what kinds of networks you want to plug yourself into based on that?
Yeah, because if you're a literary writer, building platform and building bridges is different for you. You're going to want to be published different places. You're going to want to reach different communities of people who read literary writing. If you're writing thrillers, you're going to reach to a different community. If you're writing memoir, you want to reach to the people who share whatever challenge you had at the beginning of your memoir, because those are going to be the people who most need to hear your beautiful words. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is there a Writer's Bridge website? And where was this course like summarized and you registered?
Yeah, I'll drop it right here.
TheWritersBridge.com. And it's got the lesson plan. It's got the dates of the meetings, the times of the meetings. It's got it all, you know, who should take this
cost.
course,
Yeah, $875 for 8 weeks.
Thanks, Samantha. Yeah. Diane, you had a question as well?
So I love this. And I had a one-on-one with Allison yesterday? Was it yesterday?
Oh.
I don't know. And here's my issue. It's like my head is so spinning. I'm like new to social media and it feels, I do it and I'm, you know, kind of taking already some of the things that I learned from Allison yesterday, but is this class like good for somebody new, or am I just going to feel like, oh,
yes.
My head?
And in fact, Judy, who is also on this call right now, has signed up, and Judy is also brand new. What we want to do is, by spreading it out over 8 weeks, everybody's going to have like specific tasks to do for their stuff for the week, but not everybody's going to be doing the same things. So like, for example, you and I talked about, Diane, just being a little bit braver on Twitter because you enjoy it, but it's a little bit intimidating. And so we talked to you about, you know, go ahead and do 1 tweet a day, just something positive that is really low stakes. That's not necessarily going to be the same assignment for somebody who's already comfortable on Twitter. You know, their assignment might be go, you know, follow 50 people and have conversations with them and see who's willing to follow you back, or, you know, start making lists of all your people so that you can interact with them more efficiently. So that's why the group coaching is in much smaller groups as well, so that we can work with what each person needs that particular week.
And one of the reasons that we're doing this course is because Allison and I are both former coaches. I'm a former figure skating coach. She's a former circus coach and director. And we can see people's potential, but in this big group, we can't go like, okay, and I saw this one thing that you wrote, and like, it could be this series of things. And we're really good at meeting people where they are and then really showing them where they could go with that. So all levels of tech savvy are welcome. We can really differentiate instruction on the fly because of our experience doing that with large groups.
Yeah. And there may even be times when like we're covering something in a 24-person class and we go, okay, Ashleigh's going to take all the people who are ready to do reels into breakout room 1, and Allison's going to take the people who are still learning to do stories into breakout room 2, and we'll meet back in 20 minutes, and these people will have learned one thing and these people will have learned another. Like with a smaller group, it's much, much easier to tailor it and to make sure that everybody's questions get answered, and to make it more personal, you know, to make it more about like the people who are actually there doing the work. But, you know, it's a commitment though. It's a, you know, it's $875. It's 8 weeks long. It's less than half of what other people are charging for their social media courses. And I don't know of anybody else who's doing a platform building course specifically for writers, because you don't need to be an influencer. You don't need to be posing in pink outfits, holding your Starbucks cup and using, you know, the pretty filter all the time. What you need is people who are interested in your words, and how can you pair your time on social media with your publications, with your actual book, with showing up on people's podcasts to establish yourself as the person who everybody needs to hear from. You know, but it's
I have one more question. So if you want to make like that full commitment to this course and to doing, the stuff, what realistically every day, how much time?
Well, we'll
I
have
put it in the thing actually. So hang on, let me pull it up and I can tell you. Ashleigh, you keep talking while I pull it up.
Okay, so we will have 2 classes a week that are 70 to 90 minutes. We'll never go over 90 minutes, but just like
one class a week. One class a week.
Oh, sorry, the one class a week, but then the one coaching call. So the one class a week and the one coaching call. So those 2 sessions. And then on a daily basis, there will be a bit of time depending on, and some of that will be spent writing essays, writing pitches. Some of that will be spent like connecting with people.
Some of it is part of your writing practice as well as your platform practice. And actually, I'll read you what we've currently got on the website, which is what's the time commitment. Each week includes a 70 to 90 minute class, about 60 minutes of teaching followed by discussion, a 70 to 90 minute coaching session, same deal. Plan to spend 2 to 3 hours a week on your platform, including pitching, submitting, blogging, writing, social media. Total commitment about 5 to 6 hours a week. And we're also recording all of the sessions, just like we do with Writer's Bridge, so that if you have to miss a week, you can still catch up.
Yep. And I just dropped some info in the chat. You're welcome to, just to make it clear. That 8 weeks, you get one teaching call, one coaching call, which is in the small groups where we're really gonna dig in. Awesome, thanks, Cecilia.
Well, thank you all so much for choosing to spend your time with us tonight, and have a really beautiful day.